Hello everyone. Today we shall discuss an important topic of the course Programming for Problem Solving. The name of the topic is two-dimensional array. We have already done some basic operations on array that was mainly one-dimensional array or 1D array. Today we shall discuss two-dimensional array. So what is two-dimensional array? Actually, you should know that array may be of any dimension. That means it is possible to design an array of one-dimensional or two-dimensional or three-dimensional and so on. And the two-dimensional array is also known as matrix. And in the case of 2D array, the second dimension must be specified always. That is, it cannot be kept blank. Okay, that we can show throughout our course. Now let us take an example. So here you can see this is the way of declaration and initialization of a two-dimensional array. So here name of the array variable is A, type is integer, and here we have used two dimensions. To indicate two dimension, we have used 2 times the third bracket, and we have placed two integer values over here. That is the size of total number of rows. The first one indicates the size of total number of rows, and second one indicates the size of total number of columns. That means actually this 2 and 3, these will provide you the total number of rows as well as total number of columns. So 2 is the total number of rows here and 3 is the total number of columns here. The total number of elements that this particular array can hold is 2 into 3, that is 6. And how we can initialize this? Within curly bracket or second bracket, again we have placed another second bracket or curly bracket. So first, this row corresponds the first 3 elements of first row, and this second row corresponds the second 3 elements of second row. So here you can see there are 2 number of rows and 3 number of columns, and each row, elements of each row has been initialized within a nested curly bracket. Okay. And if I show you the diagram, how this array elements is stored in computer memory, then you can see this is the structure, how we can store these elements within the computer memory. So here you can see this is a two-dimensional matrix from where this is our first row, this is known as row 0, and this is our second row, this is row known as row 1, because you know the array index starts from 0. So here array index is actually starts from 0, 0 because it is a two-dimensional array. So row 0 and column 0. So there are 3 columns. This first one is column 0, second one is column 1, and third one is column 2. So whenever we have initialized these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 will be placed in row 0, column 0 position here, and the name of this particular array element is A0. First 0 indicates the current row and second 0 indicates the current column. So here you can see this row number is 0 and column number is 0. So A00. So A00 is the very first or starting element of this corresponding array. Next, the element will be placed in a memory location which can be indicated by A01, that is row number 0 and column number 1. So array 01 or A01. Next, the element 3 is placed in A02, where the row number is 0 and column number is 2. And after that, the element 4 is stored in a position which is indicated by A10. 1 stands for the row number and 0 stands for the column number. And in this way, we can proceed. So if the starting location of this particular array is assumed to be 2000, so the next element location will be 2004 because one integer occupies 4 bytes. We all know that. The third element will occupy the memory location 2008, and then 2012, and then 2016, and then 2020. In this way, the elements will be stored. Okay. Now, I shall discuss how we can access these elements. Or if you are asked to scan a 2D array or to print a 2D array, what is the technique that we can incorporate? Before that, I want to tell you here that you can omit the nested cultivate. That means if you write or if you initialize the elements by writing in this way, you can write in a single line also. The outcome will be exactly same. That means for 1, it will be indicated by A00. For 2, it will be indicated by A01. For 3, it will be indicated by A02. For 4, it will be indicated by A10. For 5, it will be indicated by A11. And for 6, it will be indicated by A1. So this is another way to initialize a 2D array. Okay. So though here you can see that the elements are stored in 2D form within the computer memory, but what is the actual scenario is that within the computer memory, the memory are present sequentially. That means the array elements are stored linearly, but we can visualize this array for our programming purpose as 2D structure or matrix structure. Okay. Next, we are going to show you how we can access these elements, the array elements which are in 2D, 2-dimensional. So this is a part of code C program which indicates how to scan a 2-dimensional array. You can remember, if you want to scan a 1-dimensional array, you always use a single for loop. So whenever we are dealing with 2-dimensional array, we require to use nested for loop or 2 for loops like this. So I have taken 2 for variables, for loop variables I and j. And here you remember R is the maximum number of rows and C is the maximum number of columns for that array, 2-dimensional array. So I should be start from 0 and it should continue up less than R, and J should start from 0 and J should continue up less than C. Now you can usually write scanf %d address of Aij. So whenever I is 0 and J is 0, address of A00. So whenever you are entering a number, an integer, that particular integer will go to the location stored for A00 for the first time. And after that, J will be incremented to 1. So the next element will go to A01 and so on. And before that scanf statement, I have written a printf statement here for indicating the correct element to the user or to the programmer. So enter a %d ij. So what is the value of I and what is the value of j, that will come over here. And if you run this particular part of code, you can see I am showing you the output here. Enter a. If I is 0 and j is 0, so %d will be replaced by 0, and then %d, the second %d will be replaced by 0. So at the output, you can see enter A00 colon symbol, and after that cursor will blink. Okay. So you should give some integer from keyboard, and then you should press enter, such that that integer will be stored to the location allocated for A00. So if you press 1 here and press enter, then 1 will be placed, 1 will go to in the location for A00. It is the location for A00. So it will be 1 here. Understood? Now the nested for loop J will be 1. If we assume R is 2 and C is 3, so 1 less than 3, so printf enter A01. Okay. Let me write down here, enter A01. And if you press 2 and enter, then 2 will go to the location for A01. Okay. Next, J will be incremented to 2 and C is 3, we know. So 2 less than 3 is correct. So enter A02. So after that, it will be enter A02. Okay, and if you press 3 and enter, then 3 will go to the location allocated for A02. So 3 will go over here. Okay, then J will be incremented to 3. Now 3 less than 3, condition is false. So it will come out from the inner for loop, and again it will go for the increment of I. So I will be 1. Now R is 2. So 1 less than 2, it is correct. So again, inner for loop will start from 0. So this entire thing will happen once more. And in that case, the value of R will be 1 and J starts from 0 again. So enter A10. And if you enter 4 here, 4 will come to the location stored for A10. Okay, you can see here 4 is coming to A10. After that, J will be incremented again. So J will be 1. So enter 1 1. If you press 5 and enter, then 5 will be placed the location for A11. You can see here. Next, J will be 2. So now it will be A12. And if you press 6 and press enter, then 6 will go to the location for A12 here. You can see here. So if you run this particular part of code, the output will be something like that. Okay, this is the way how we can scan an entire 2D array. Now finally, I want to show you how we can print an entire 2D array. So logic will be something like that. Let me show you. So here you can see again we have used nested for loop for printing a 2D array, for printing the elements of 2D array. So again we have taken two loop variables I and j. I is continuing up to less than r total number of rows, and j is continuing up to c less than c, that is total number of columns. And just within the inner for loop I have written printf %d comma aij, percentage d space then comma aij. So what will be the output? Okay, so you just visualize this picture in your mind and tell me what is the output. So I starts from 0, j starts from 0, j less than 3. If we assume r is 0 and r is 2 and c is 3, just like in previous case. So printf a00. Now tell me what is the value of a00? It is small a. What is the value of a00? It is 1. So the output you can see it is 1. After that there is space. Now j is 1. J will be incremented to 1. 1 less than 3. Printf a01. What is the value of a01? It is 2. So 2 will be printed here. So there is space. Then j will be 2. 2 less than 3. Printf a02. What is the value of a02? It is 3. So 3 will be printed over here. After that j will be incremented to 3. So 3 less than 3, it is false. It will come out from the inner for loop, printf \n. So a new line will be printed over here. Cursor will come to this point. And here After that, I will be incremented to 1, 1 less than 2. Again, for loop, again inner loop starts from 0. So printf A10. What is the value A10? It is 4. So 4 will be printed over here. Okay. After that, j will be incremented to 1, 1 less than 3. Printf percentage d A11. I is 1, j is 1. So A11. Now, what is the value for A11? It is 5. So 5 will be printed over here. Okay. Now, j will be incremented to 2, 2 less than 3. It is correct. So A12. A12 will be printed. A12 is 6. So 6 will be printed over here. And after that, j will be 3, 3 less than 3. It is false. So it will come out from the entire for loop, inner for loop, and then it will print a new line. And after that, I plus plus will occur. I plus plus, it will be 2. 2 less than 2, it is false. It will come from the entire outer for loop. So ultimately, this is our outcome, or this is our output. And you can see the output will be in matrix form, 2 cross 3 matrix form, a 2-dimensional array form. In this way, we can print or we can access a 2D array. Now, I am going to show you an example, programming example, such that we can deal with 2D array. Here you can see a C program to print the largest number from an M cross N matrix. M cross N matrix. So here I have taken R is the total number of rows and C is the total number of columns. That means M cross N is indicated here, R cross C. For the first time, I have taken the maximum size is 10 cross 10, and I am scanning the value of R and C through scanf statement. Okay. So one disadvantage of this is that R and C, value of R and C should be less than 0, should be less than 10. Okay. Because the maximum size is 10 cross 10. Now enter elements of the matrix. So this particular nested for loop has been used to scan the 2D array that we have discussed just now. Okay. This part of the program is used to scan the 2D array. And after that, entered matrix I'm going to print. So this particular part is used to print the 2D array that we have scanned. Okay. Now you are asked to find the largest element from this array. So you can use the logic that can be used for finding the maximum or largest element. So first, array 00 or A00 has been assigned to a variable called max, and nested for loop is used for accessing the elements one by one. And if any of those elements is greater than max, so max is already assigned by the very first element of the 2D array. And if you can find any element which is greater than that max element, the max will be modified or updated by that value. If you continue within this nested loop, after completion of the entire array, after traversing the entire array, entire 2D array, the max variable will contain the maximum or largest element from that array. That is the solution for this problem. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. Thank you very much.